Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title podcast. Today, we're talking about flags, red flags, green flags, and beige flags. And I would like to give an explanation. I realize this is a newer phenomenon, talking about relationships. I know some of you are older like I am, and that maybe you're not familiar with the grading system of red, green, and beige flags. So it's talking about relationships. I was on Instagram the other day, and a lady was asking. She said, "Guys, I need your opinion. Have you ever seen a girl with fake eyelashes and went, wow, she is beautiful? Like those eyelashes really make her more attractive." So I instantly went to the comments, and it was very interesting. A bunch of guys are like, "No, that is a red flag." And so if you're not familiar with what that is, red flag would just mean you're bringing something that your maybe future significant other does that is like, "Man, I don't like the way this is going. I don't like what this means for the future." And the guys are like, "Yeah, fake eyelashes usually means they're high maintenance. They're going to be an expensive partner." They just went down the list and they named these red flags. I was like, man, that's kind of accurate. So I don't want to be negative. I want to talk about positive things. And because we just had Mother's Day, I want to talk about the green flags. So red flags are bad, green flags are good, beige flags could go either way. So I went online, I asked some fellow dads, fellow husbands, what was a green flag that you saw in your dating relationship that has panned out and made your wife a great mother? It was awesome. Most of the things that I got were very similar, and I would put those things on my list as well. My wife, Andrea, is a great mother. I've got a great mother-in-law, mother, and my wife, she's awesome. So to all the moms in my life, you guys are great. I love you. So let's talk about some of these red flags. So this might be for the younger crowd that are listening to this podcast. You're dating, and this is kind of weird because you're kind of like picking options, which seems weird and very non-romantic. But when you're picking a spouse, when you're picking a future wife, if you think you want to have kids, you're picking your future kid's mom. And it's really important. When I look at the different relationships of men that I have relationships with, when I look at their wives, and it's amazing the quality of life difference between someone who has a good wife and a good mother versus someone who doesn't. The stress and angst of all that, of having someone who just didn't meet the expectations, isn't living up to what they think a mom or wife should do is rough. Now, I'm not saying it can't be fixed. People do change, but it's challenging. So if you can pick the right one and you can look for these red flags, I think your life will be better. So the first and the one that was mentioned by just about everybody is their green flag was how they treat everybody around them, especially people who don't have the same level of status as them. So people that you might consider lower than them. So this could be, you go to a restaurant and they have empathy towards the server. Now, I'm not saying that a server is a less of a person, but in that role, they are serving you. Literally, it's in the word and how they treat them. How they treat their parents was a really big one. The interaction and the showing kindness and gentleness. Their ability to go with the flow. Now, I think this is a important distinction. I think you need to have the balance. There needs to be some structure in your life. And if you are not the structured person, you are the free spirit, let just life live the way it is, and you marry another free spirit, let life live, just go, you're going to be those kids. You're going to have those kids that everybody hates because there's no structure in their life. So this is not a right or wrong, but complement your strength. So if my wife is maybe a little more structured because I am a little more free spirit, that's what you want. You don't want too structured because then you have kids that are miserable and they're robots. You don't want too much free spirit because you have wild heathens that don't pay attention. So finding someone that balances out your strength, I think, is important. One thing that was I didn't think this would be important, but financially it's been great, is my wife enjoys shopping at Goodwill, Salvation Army, and thrifting. Why is that important? Because your kids are going to grow rapidly. And if you have a spouse who only feels comfortable buying brand new clothes, it is going to cost you a ton of money. Now, if you got a ton of money, cool. Go buy new clothes, every week just about, because your kids are growing that much. But it was really awesome that my wife really enjoys finding a good deal at Goodwill. She loves knowing that at Target 3 weeks ago, this dress was $20, and today at Goodwill it's $2.99, and that's been really, really good. Some of the other things that popped up on the survey was how they treat pets, which I thought was pretty interesting. How they are around animals, which little kids can 100% totally be little animals, and I thought that was very interesting. It was how they roll with the punches was another one. Now, I think planning is very important, but just realizing that life is going to happen, life's going to get in the way. And if your spouse can't roll with that, it makes it really challenging if it just, the smallest thing sets them off and ruins their day, because kids are not predictable. They just, you're getting ready to go out, everyone's looking good, and they throw up on their little church outfit. If that throws you off for the day, that's a really tough one. So finding a spouse who can just roll with the punches is important. Another one that came out is finding a spouse who just can laugh, because life it shouldn't be serious. There are some really serious moments out there, but finding someone who can just find the joy in the little things and laugh and be okay with just some of the ridiculousness of parenting is so important. And, I could keep going on and on with all the list, but for the young guy, I'm talking to you, you're dating, you're out in the world trying to find the right one. Pretty is important. I've got, guys will rate girls. She's an 8, she's a 7. I have a friend. He's like, that's ridiculous. He's like, it's yes or no. Are you attracted to them? It doesn't matter what their number is. It's a yes. It's binary, on or off. So you do need to be attracted to the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. But that is such a small portion of what life is the, the physical attraction. Is it important? Absolutely. But when you're going out there and dating, I want you to ask the questions. If you're a guy that thinks, I want to have a wife, and then I want to have that wife be the parent or the mother of my children, screen for that. And which is, I almost feel bad saying this, but if there's a girl that just has no empathy, she's got no sense of humor, she can't roll with the punches, she doesn't have empathy towards people who she might see as less than her, man, that might not be the right one. And spending the rest of your life with not the right one is a tough one. Now, that being said, you both can learn, and you're both going to become different people once you have kids anyways. That's not, whatever your wife said when you were dating about, being married and having kids and all that, a lot of that's going to go out the window, and you can't hold that against them. It's funny. We'll have new guys. Yeah, my wife's pregnant, and we're excited. I said, what are you going to do when the baby comes? Oh, she's going back to work. And I just smile. I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy. She's going back to work. Because most of the time, that little bundle of joy comes home, and there's something that switches in their brain, and they think, I need to be with this kid as much as humanly possible. And because things change. Now, is that unfair because they said, yeah, no, I want to be a career person, and that changes stuff financially? No, because life changes. So I'm not trying to make this podcast about getting divorced because your wife is not the person you thought she was going to be. But if you can start choosing these things and screening for these things, there are good women out there who are going to help you make a good life, and it's worth picking. It's worth putting some thought into it. It's not just they're smoking hot. That goes away. All women are going to age. That's just the truth. You're going to age. You're both going to look older and not as good looking according to the standards of the world. It's okay. But finding someone with character, being honest, integrity, doing what they say to do, all these good things is super important. So pick the right one. Please pick the right one. Hopefully you've enjoyed this short podcast. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title Podcast, and I will talk to you later.